So today we're going to have a daily Bitcoin price update and analysis. This time it's going to be more technical than usual because what we're going to be talking about is this triple top in the price of Bitcoin at 25,000. Around 25,000 was the resistance level we predicted or foresaw for Bitcoin based on the fact of the full moon in Aquarius and Venus entering Leo and all this stuff that we were seeing in the charts. Primarily Saturn being on the ascendant. When Venus entered Leo, Venus is about the flow of money. Saturn is about technologies, cryptocurrencies, internet, stuff like that. And Saturn's about limitations. So we knew we were going to hit some sort of limit on this full moon and things were not going to rise immediately. And last night I posted on Patreon this triple top formation and also this what's called a bearish divergence in the RSI. RSI just means the strength of the chart, you know, how much people are buying into it, into the coin. And basically shows like something around volume and then, you know, price moving and stuff like that. But basically we see that the price on this top dashed trend line was increasing over time, whereas the strength was decreasing. And this is a strong sign that things are going to take a turn at some point. And when I saw this triple top, you know, this was my final sign. And so I had a chance to sell my Ethereum at 2,000, but I waited a little bit and I ended up selling at 1990 USD, 1,990. And now we see that we're in the low 1900s today. If we go to TradingView and we just look at the current prices, we're in the low 1900s. I actually bought back in on Ethereum at 1897. And I was buying a little bit in the lows as well because I set multiple buy orders. I don't just buy all at once. But my lowest order right now is 1855. But I was buying in the low 1900s. So essentially our TA came to fruition on Patreon. So if you're into Bitcoin and financial opportunities and astrology, and you want to see the combination of astrology prediction with markets and with technical analysis, and you want to make some extra money trading coins, then that's the place to be. Join my Jupiter tier on Patreon. But today, what we're going to be talking about is what we can expect next for the price of Bitcoin. So what we saw was this wedge. First of all, what we saw was this wedge that I'm going to color in yellow. And we see that we broke out of that wedge, especially at that triple top. You know, the more times something hits a level of resistance, the more likely it is to become a turnaround point. Especially at the third time, but eventually we may break out of it. Like if we retest the fourth time, it's likely going to be a cross past that $25,000 level, especially because we have a new moon coming up at the end of August, and new moons pull the price up of Bitcoin. Let me show you guys and visually by pulling up the moon indicator how new moons, which are shown in black, correspond with price peaks here on the daily chart, whereas full moons are price bottoms. So we recently exited a full moon, which is why I'm continuing to buy this pullback, because sometimes, you know, for example, with this full moon, which ended up being bullish, sometimes the pullback can happen a little bit later or a little bit before the moon, but it's always one peak per new moon, one decline per full moon for the most part. And they tend to correspond around the days of the new moons and the full moons. So, with that being said, we should expect some bullish energy into this this new moon at the end of August. And so that, also confirms or strengthens the theory that if we have a fourth top or like a fourth test of the $25,000 level, this could be the one to break through. But with that being said, the topic of this video is where we're headed next. So in the image I told you guys the retest level is this trend line right here. That would be the most technically sound level. So even right now would not be a bad time to short the market a little bit if you believe it's going to continue to go down. But of course, there's always some risk in that because overall, I'm just seeing we're in a bullish trend. And like from the day-to-day, things are increasing. There's no bullish RSI on the daily charts. This is more of a short-term thing that within the next 48 to 72 hours, there's a chance that we can retest this line. But if that doesn't happen, then this idea gets invalidated. But that is the next move, like for us to retest this line, because right now we had a reversal in price, and this top right here was actually a lower low. So we're now in a downwards trend. The only logical thing is for us to test this line. Now there's one of two options that could occur. Either we're going to test and bounce right here, which is likely, or let's see, let me keep that arrow there, or we can continue down and test this new trend line that's forming at around 23,100 would be the next level. And that's if we break through this trend line. That's the next point that we could be headed to at this time. So there's either going to be a bounce on this first trend line, or in a more bearish scenario, we retest, or we actually create a new trend line right here, which is more, down here, which is more steady, and it's still going to be a higher high. So we'll still be in an uptrend. If we retest the lower line, is going to be perhaps in the middle of the golden ratio, or the golden pocket, I should say, which is faintly highlighted here. I'm going to increase the color or the opacity. The golden pocket is the 618, between the 618 and the 786 Fibonacci levels. So we might hit the middle of the golden pocket at the 702. And from there, the next move, since we're in bullish energy at this time, would be a bounce. And this would be a significant rebound for the altcoins especially. If we do end up breaking like this trend line right here, it's going to be really bearish for the altcoins. Like they're going to lose, like they're going to dump temporarily. And we could see Ethereum back at 1600s level. So that's a possibility to keep in mind. But that is my daily TA. Like those are the two things I'm looking at to happen next. It's all about risk management at this point. We are on a downtrend. I'm fairly confident we're going to retest this trend line. Now, it's up to time to tell whether like we're going to be like exaggerated downwards, like if we're going to be unreasonably bearish at this time and break through it, or if we're just going to bounce right away. Now this right here would be the ultimate buying opportunity. Like that's a pretty good bet, like right there for buying in. But ultimately, if you do buy right here and we do end up continuing down, like if you buy at this red line right here, red circle, I mean, it's not the end of the world because we are in a bullish cycle. You're just going to be waiting a little bit for it to cross back upwards. And for the new moon in Virgo in late August leading into September, we're expecting this red box range, which is a technical target from around 27,000, but like 26,800 to 30,000 for Bitcoin. And that would take Ethereum to like $2,200 from where it's at right now at 1,900. With that being said, astrologically speaking, the last things I can add to this now that I'm thinking about the astrology for this is that Bitcoin just entered or just had another lunar return today. And its lunar return is looking very optimistic. There is Venus in the first house, which is the planet of value. Venus is not things that we throw away, it's things we hold on to. So I say that to say, like, this is not a time to be throwing away your Bitcoin or your cryptos for fear of things decreasing. Right now, the value is directly on Bitcoin. The planet of value is literally in the first house of its lunar return for this month. The chart ruler is conjunct to Jupiter, which is about luck, expansion, abundance, gains, risks. And the ascendant is in Cancer, like I said, and Cancer is about investing, about taking a risk, investing in something for the long term. Now, this right now is probably a short-term rally upwards. There's probably going to be better opportunities later in 2022 and into early 2023 to buy Bitcoin and other altcoins. So on Patreon, what we're just really talking about is how to capitalize on these moves that are happening right now. But furthermore, right now in the astrology, things are looking real good for Bitcoin. In terms of Ethereum's astrology, things are looking excellent as well. It just had a lunar return on the 10th of August, and a lunar return lasts about 29 days, so it's about a month. So for the next month till early September, Ethereum's looking really bullish because the ascendant was in Sagittarius, which is all about expansion, luck, etc. And the ruler of Sagittarius, Jupiter, was in the 5th house, which is about receiving attention and spotlight. And Ethereum has been doing just that. At least in the crypto community, it's made a gain of, let's see, 30% since the beginning of August, which I made a video saying that in August, we will see the price of cryptos increase. Therefore, it was a good time to buy. And this was on Patreon on August 1st. The other day, we made a prediction about 25K being the resistance level and that we were not going to cross, even though at the time it appeared questionable to most people whether we were going to cross or not. It was a turning point, but I could see, we were not based on the Saturn thing. It's just not likely financially, at that time. But we were going to cross later, perhaps. But with that being said, all I'm saying is that Ethereum's looking fantastic in terms of the astrology. We got to make some more posts on Patreon and talk about all this stuff. Bitcoin is looking great, astrologically speaking, bullish, strong. So this leads me to believe that the trend line is a pretty safe bet for support, and it's a pretty safe opportunity for it to rebound. And once things rebound, they get really bullish, really aggressive, really volatile, Right now, I would not short this market because of the fact that long term or on the longer time frames, like the daily, we're still in an uptrend. It's not safe to, get rid of this stuff or like to borrow Bitcoin just so you can sell it, because it might cross your threshold upwards in a single candle, and change directions. And so anyway, what we see is that this trend line is very bouncy. You get what I mean? So when there's going to be a rebound, optimism will return because it's likely going to be a strong move upwards, and Bitcoin's looking very strong for this cycle. And in terms of the numerology of things, there's a lot of stuff to say about that as well that are coinciding with Ethereum, which I'll bring up in the podcast for cryptos on Patreon, which I'm doing tomorrow. With that being said, basically the astrology is leading me to have some faith on this trend line playing out. But if it doesn't, it's just going to be a lower bounce level, a lower trend line. and perhaps an even more exaggerated effect upwards. And from here, from this bounce down here, we are really going to see Bitcoin, you know, Bitcoin's price cross that 25K for sure. Anyway, that's going to wrap it up for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. And I appreciate the support you guys listening in and joining Patreon. Come get some gains on Patreon. We got some posts coming up. I got some money subliminals, crypto subliminal messages and affirmations that I'm going to be posting there for members, where you can join and change your financial mindset while, you know, learning about cryptos, learning about the astrology of each month for each of these coins, and like while, you know, getting posts and notifications about opportunities that I'm seeing to trade and to buy and sell and stuff. So definitely a good deal, and I appreciate you guys supporting in any way that you do, and I'll talk to you guys sometime soon in another video. Peace.